Well, hello there, and welcome to Karatbars. My name is Howard Olson, and over the course of the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you a powerful program that will enable you to save money, accumulate wealth, and preserve your purchasing power. Essentially, what I'm going to allow you to do is I'm going to show you a program that will help you hedge against inflation, protecting yourself for the future, but also provide an income stream from which you can make meaningful savings in a superior savings vehicle. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. It is my intent in the course of this video to educate and to inform. There will be no hard sell here, but I really just want to present a few facts. I want to show you what's going on in the world. This thing that the Gen X and the Gen Y are now calling the happening. The happening. What is that? Well, here's how they put it. We know something's happening. We know something doesn't feel right, but we just can't put our fingers on what it is. And that's what the new generation is calling the happening. I'm going to explain to you part of what the happening is and what we can actually do about it. So again, my name is Howard Olson. We're not selling anything. I want to educate, inspire, inform, and perhaps even cause a paradigm shift in the way that you look at a few things, and then, if appropriate, give you the empowerment to make some decisions and some choices for yourself. I want to begin with a short little 2-minute video clip, which is taken from a video series called The 5 Hidden Secrets of Money. It's actually just called The Hidden Secrets of Money, and it comes in 5 segments. You can find it on YouTube in full high definition. Each segment is 30 to 40 minutes in length. It's a full documentary which chronicles the history of money over the course of the last 6,000 years. And if you don't understand how the economy works, this is a great, great video series that will just help you get your head around it in a non-confrontational, in a really easy, non-intimidating way. So I want to highly recommend that to you. Here we go. I'm going to share with you the first 2 minutes, and that will set the framework for everything else we talk about.
Your true wealth is your time and freedom. Money is just a tool for trading your time. It's a container to store your economic energy until you're ready to deploy it. But the whole world has been turned away from real money and has been fooled into using currency. A deceitful imposter that is silently stealing your 2 most valuable assets, your time and your freedom. Welcome to the rabbit hole.
We are entering a period of financial crisis that is the greatest the world has ever known. The wealth transfer that will take place during this decade is the greatest wealth transfer in history. Wealth is never destroyed, it is merely transferred, and that means that on the opposite side of every crisis there is an opportunity. The great news is that all you have to do to turn this crisis into your great opportunity is to educate yourself. I believe that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is your own education. Education on the history of money, education on finance, education on how the global economy works, education on how all of these guys, the central bankers, the stock market, how they can cheat you, how they can scam you. If you learn what is going on and how the financial world works, you can put yourself on the correct side of this wealth transfer. Winston Churchill once said that the further you look into the past, the further that you can see into the future. This program is all about creating your own crystal ball, being able to gaze into the future, being able to change this crisis, the greatest crisis in the history of mankind, into your great opportunity.
Well, I love what Mike Maloney says here. He says that if you want to create this crisis into the greatest opportunity, the best thing that you can do is to get yourself an education. Understand how money works, understand how the world works, and understand how the economy works. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I propose to do with this presentation over the course of the next few moments. I'm going to present to you not just an opportunity, not just a company, not just Karatbars. I'm going to present to you a way that you can literally change some of your spending habits into savings habits and get paid in both cash and gold for doing it. But before we get there, I want to talk a little bit about why we have some of the challenges that we have in the world today. You know, Mike says if you want to get ahead, you need to educate yourself. And I want to take us back to school now. You remember going to school? You remember the 3 R's? We all learned reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? Remember the 3 R's? Okay, so we learned all that. But my question is, who taught you about money? When you think about this, who taught you about money? I ask this question all the time in our live seminars, and 99% of the time the answer is, well, no one. And 1% of the time, it's my parents. Now, some of us are fortunate to have good parents with good money sense. Unfortunately, many of us have parents that also didn't know too much about money, and while they did the best that they could, they taught us what they knew, which was really not all that much. Who teaches us about money today? Think about this. It's the banks. It's not the schools. It's not your college. It's not your university. It's the banks. Private corporations who want to sell us on their debt instruments, want to sell us on their credit cards, their mortgages, and financial instruments. And if they're private corporations held by private shareholders and their goal is a profit motive, are the instruments that they're selling to us and educating us on in our best interest or in their best interest? I'm just going to leave that one to you to come to your own conclusion, but I think we're probably on the same page here. Let me ask you a question. When you think about most Canadians and most Americans, most North Americans in a very general sense, do you think they have a plan to get themselves out of debt and have the ability to retire in the next 3 to 5 years if they so desire? I don't think so. Let me ask you another question. Do you? And if you do, how's that plan actually working for you? Now, I ask that question thousands of times in the course of a year. I run presentations all over North America, and I know the answer that typically comes back, probably something very similar to what you were just thinking. And I want to share with you why that is, why there's no shame in it, and what we can actually do about it. You see, the numbers don't lie. Numbers will always tell us the truth if we just simply look at the right numbers. So let me share some numbers with you now. Since the Great Depression in 1932, under the Federal Reserve banking system, the dollar has lost 98% of its purchasing power, while gold, the vehicle that once used to back our currency, has risen by 4,300%. We can look at it like this. In a typical home making typical purchases in a typical week, now I've tracked these numbers over 30 years, but the price of bread has increased 959%. Movie tickets have gone up 483%. Housing in many markets, particularly the one I'm living in, almost 1,100%. The simple, inexpensive postage stamp has risen 800%, and milk is up by 257%. Now let me ask you a question. Although I'm tracking 30 years, have you seen a 250 to 1,000% increase in the real wages that you can bring home in the past decade? I don't think so. I sure haven't. And most of the people I talk to also say that they haven't, and that's exactly the problem. This is why we're finding it so difficult to get ahead, create any real and meaningful savings, and get ourselves off the debt wheel. We're living paycheck to paycheck, and here's why. We just can't get ahead of the inflation curve. The inflation curve that the government tells us doesn't exist. And there's lots of reasons why they hide those numbers and how they hide those numbers. But we've just looked at a very simple shopping basket, and I can tell you that it's for real. Listen, I'm going to make this very clear. I'm going to say this very succinctly. It is impossible to get ahead of exponential inflation on a linear income. And that's why we have the problem that we have today. Even those that are making significant and above average incomes are getting squeezed and feeling it tight. And we've all heard that the middle class is getting eroded, and this is exactly why. Inflation is eroding away our lifestyle. Let's look at it like this. If you had $100,000 worth of cash in 1932, that cash today is worth just $2,000 in purchasing power. Let's make this really simple to get our heads wrapped around. It takes $100 of cash today to buy what $2 would have got you back then. That's called a decrease in currency. We can look at it like this also. If you had $100,000 worth of gold acquired in 1932, just let it sit in the closet accumulating no interest, that gold today would be worth $4,449,443%. That is a significant increase. That gold outperformed cash by more than 4,300%. And here's what's happened. It's actually gold has held its value. Yes, it has risen, but what has really happened is it's risen in relation to the paper currency units that they keep printing without any store of value behind it. And for a good portion of our history, money, our currency, was backed by gold. It's no longer backed by gold. Gold is shooting, and the purchasing power of our dollar is decreasing. And as we've just seen, it's lost 98% of its purchasing power. That's called a fiat currency. A fiat currency is that which is backed by nothing. You see, most people think that inflation is an increase in the price of goods. And I'm going to propose to you that the price of goods don't change a bit. Inflation is not an increase in the price of goods. Inflation is a decrease in the purchasing power of the currency that we use. And here's a very simple illustration. I know that if we go back 2,000 years, the suit of the day back in the time of the Romans, and we can look this through biblical texts or through historical texts, the suit of the day was a fine toga, a handcrafted belt, and a pair of fine leather sandals. And we know that that suit, the suit of the day, was the equivalent of one gold coin. 1960, you could have walked into any fine men's shop, gone for the suit of the day, which was a suit, a shirt, a nice tie, a handcrafted belt, and a pair of shoes, and the suit in 1960 would have been the equivalent of one gold coin in 1960. Now, at the time of this video, middle of June 2015, an ounce of gold is $1,200. And today, if you walk into a fine men's shop and you're looking for a nice suit, a tie, a shirt, a handcrafted belt, and a nice pair of shoes, what's it going to cost you? You betcha, $1,200. I will propose to you that the price of that suit has not changed in 2,000 years. The price of the suit was always the equivalent of one gold coin. In fact, gold has held its value. Gold is God's money. He gave it to us because you can't print it into existence. It comes out of the ground, and it's the currency that God himself created 6,000 years ago. It has outlasted currency. The price of the suit hasn't changed a bit. It was a gold coin 2,000 years ago. It was a gold coin 60 years ago, and it's a gold coin today. Gold has held its value. Cash has eroded. Why? Because they're printing it like it's going out of style. It's a fiat currency. The word fiat is literally a Latin term. It's a Latin word, and the literal translation is, well, it shall be. What that means in relation to currency, fiat currency is a currency that's not backed by gold or silver or any tangible store of value. It's basically money printed out of thin air, created because somebody fired up a printing press and said it will be. And when I showed this slide to my wife, Michaela, she looked at it, she says, oh, fiat money. It's money because I said so. Exactly. Just because someone said so and we have faith in the system, not that there's any store of value in it. And that's the problem with our currency. And we've heard of QE1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we've heard of all of that. What's that? It's a fancy term for we're going to print money like it's going out of style. And I'm going to show you exactly how much they've been printing in just a few moments. But Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers of the United States, he said it like this: if the American people will ever allow private banks and the corporations that grow up around them, they will deprive the people of their property until their children will wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. Now, he knew exactly what he was talking about, because if you understand the history of the United States and how it was created, it was the Pilgrims. They left England. Why did they leave England? Because of a central bank, because of fiat currency, and because horrendous tax rules. They left to get away from the central bank and the taxation policies. And they understood that if they allowed these central banks into the United States, that they would destroy the very country that they were founding. America was founded on a tax revolt in 1776. I want to bring this back for our Canadian friends, and let's make this a Canadian story also. William Lyon Mackenzie King, one of our prime ministers, he put it like this: the issuance of credit and currency is the state's most precious resource. Once a nation gives up control of its currency, it matters not who makes the laws, because usury, once in control, will wreak havoc on any nation. Now, he knew what he was talking about also. The Bank of Canada was established, they began planning it in 1931. The Bank of Canada opened its doors in 1935, and its sole mandate was to issue currency and credit to the federal government and to the provinces to create the infrastructure that built this great nation. It was the Bank of Canada that provided interest-free loans that built the Trans-Canada Highway, that built our national rail lines, that built all of our schools, all of our hospitals, and all the key infrastructure that created us into the Canada that we are today. And that worked really well. In 1974, Canada was invited to join the then G8. You know what the price of admission was? You must give up control of the issuance of your currency and your credit, and it must now come to you from the international banking cartel called the International Bank of Settlements, the European Central Bank, and the IMF. And ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you now that all of the wars that we fight, all the infrastructure that we build, all of the bridges that go up, if it's funded by the provincial or the federal government, that money is coming to us from outside of the country, and the interest payments that accrue are now leaving the country, and your tax dollars do not stay here to pay our debts. Your tax dollars are actually going to pay interest to foreign corporations. And that's hiding in plain sight. It's very well documented, but nobody, and certainly the mainstream media, isn't talking about it. Canada, as well, is now on a fiat currency, and all of our money is leaving this country, and that's why we're getting squeezed down. Here's a great little infographic. It chronicles the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar, but there's a couple key little pieces here. If you look at this, 1913 is when the Federal Reserve's banking system was created. Now, this astounds most people when I share it with them, but it's an absolutely true fact. In 1913, in a room, in a private club on Jekyll Island being a physical geographical location off the coast of Georgia, the chairman of Citibank, Chase Manhattan, J.P. Morgan, the Rothschild Banking Group got together in a room and over the course of a couple of years cooked up what would then become the Federal Reserve banking system. And what most people don't understand is that the Federal Reserve is not a government institution. The only thing federal about it is the name itself. The Federal Reserve banking system is a private bank headquartered in Puerto Rico, and that private bank now dictates global and U.S., Canadian, and all the G20 fiscal policies. It dictates global monetary policy. And a book that I read, and I will highly recommend this, get a copy of the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. It is not a chronicle of Jekyll and Hyde. It is a story of the creation of the Federal Reserve and how that was done in secrecy in Jekyll Island. It's a fascinating read, and that book changed the lens through which I looked at pretty much everything when I got my hands on it about a decade ago. 1913, the Federal Reserve is created. It's a private corporation. It now creates the currency that's used by the United States. If you look at a U.S. dollar, it does not say a U.S. dollar. It says Federal Reserve Note, a note issued by a private bank. In 1944, at the end of World War II, the Bretton Woods Accord was created. At the end of World War II, the United States was identified as the emerging global economy. And at that point, the Bretton Woods Accord pegged all currencies to the U.S. dollar so that international trade could be smoothed out. And from that point forward, pretty much all goods were priced in U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar was pegged it was pegged to gold, and the peg was 1/35 of an ounce would equal $1 US. That's going to be a significant number in just a few minutes. $1, 1/35 of an ounce. And if you look at the price in the history of gold during that period, it was very stable. It didn't fluctuate. It stuck right there around 1/35 of an ounce to a US dollar. In 1971, the United States came out of a heavy, serious, costly conflict in Vietnam, found itself heavily in debt and unable to pay those debts, and Richard Nixon in 1971 pulled the gold standard and at that point made the U.S. dollar a freely floating currency. But under the Bretton Woods Accord, all other currencies were pegged to the U.S. dollar, and the minute Nixon pulled the gold peg, every single G20 currency became a freely floating fiat, which means they were now printing money out of thin air, backed by absolutely nothing. And here we can see this rapid decline in the reduction of the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar. And this chart goes to 2013. We're sitting here in 2015 now, and our purchasing power is down below 2 cents against the original 100 cents that it originally was. And I'm going to help you understand this in just a few seconds here. And here's a chart of the United States. The United States was founded in 1776. Now, this chart only shows from 65, but if you just look at the history of the United States, from 1776 to 2008, when we had that housing bubble, the last major economic collapse, from 1776 to 2008, over the course of 200 years, it took the United States government to put $825 billion worth of currency into circulation. 2008, we had the housing bubble, we had the collapse, we had the situation where J.P. Morgan, Chase Manhattan, Citibank, the Rothschild Group, they crashed the economy. They were too big to fail. They crashed the economy to the tune of $65 billion, and they took $43 billion worth of bailouts right back into their pockets again. Now, who orchestrated that? But here's the point. It took 200 years to put $825 billion worth of currency in circulation. And from 2008 to present day, they've quadrupled the money supply. We've gone from $825 billion to just over $3 trillion. Look at this curve here. That's an erosion of purchasing power because they keep inflating. It's delusion. It's dilution. If I take a glass of Coca-Cola, fill it half, and if I just slowly pour clear, crystal clean water into that glass, that solution of Coke is going to dilute. Well, that's exactly what they're doing with our currency. They're taking currency and they're diluting its purchasing power by printing more and more and more with no store of value underneath it. And if you think it's just the United States, take a look at this. It's all of them. It's the G20. What do all the G20 nations have in common? Well, let me help you with that. They all have a central bank that's part of a privately owned cartel. They all have astronomical money printing. They're printing money like it's going out of control. They all have a fiat currency, and they all have horrendous tax policies. They're all hugely, insolvently in debt, and they all have a central bank that's printing currency like it's going out of style. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at this. I showed you previously the U.S. chart. Here's Canada's chart. Same thing. China, India, Australia, Russia, and I could show you countless other charts. They all look the same thing. They're all on a rapid hockey stick growth curve. The amount of currency that's being put into circulation, ladies and gentlemen, I am suggesting to you that we have a global currency crisis, and our purchasing power around the globe is being eroded away because they're inflating us through the creation of money from thin air that has no store of value behind it. Here's a picture. This is a real picture, 1923 Germany. End of World War I, Germany came out of the war. The Allies won. They said to Germans, okay, you must make war reparations. You must pay for the damage that you caused, and you got to make Europe whole again. Well, Germany didn't. Germany had a gold-backed currency. These new restrictions that were put upon them, what the world had imposed on, they were completely unable to pay it. So what did they do? They unpegged their currency from the gold standard, turned it into a freely floating fiat currency with no store of value, and all of a sudden the currency began to inflate. They started printing and printing and printing. Now, this is a real story from 1923. My wife, Michaela, is German. My father-in-law is in his mid-80s, and he lived through this. And they tell me that back in those days, the price of goods began increasing so rapidly that a loaf of bread that was $2 in the morning was all of a sudden $4 in the afternoon, was all of a sudden $6 the following day because the currency was out of control. In fact, the prices were rising so rapidly that workers were being paid twice a day because if they only got paid at the end of the day, they wouldn't be able to afford anything. So they'd pay them in the morning to get their groceries, and then they'd pay them again in the afternoon to get whatever they needed again. And my father-in-law tells me, and I pass this around, I actually have one of these German Reichsmarks. I have it sealed in a vacuum-packed plastic bag, and I pass it around the room, and I show it to him. My wife says, the plastic on that note is worth more than that note from 1923. And my father-in-law tells me that one day they could use it to buy a loaf of bread, and the very next day it was worth so little that they began using it to start their fireplaces. This is an actual picture of German citizens sweeping Reichsmarks off the street because they were worth nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, over the course of the last several years, our purchasing power has declined from 100% to 98% to 2%. We've lost 98% of our purchasing power. And if they keep printing this, and they will keep printing this, how much further can it go before it's worth nothing? Do you know that the average fiat currency has a lifespan of 27 years? There is not one single example in the history of the world of a fiat currency that has survived. There isn't one. Every fiat currency ends in a disaster. The average fiat currency lasts 27 years. The Canadian fiat currency right now is sitting at 41 years. We've outlived our lifespan. The U.S. currency sitting at 44 years. Now, if we know that the average lifespan is 27, that not one single currency has survived, not one single fiat currency has survived, and we've already lost 98% of our purchasing power, how long will it be until our currency implodes and we go into a period of hyperinflation and we'll be the people that are sweeping our dollars off the streets? I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't know if it's tomorrow, and I don't know if it's a year from now, but I know it's coming. I know it's coming. And, Voltaire just put it like this. The great author, the thinker, philosopher, playwright, he says, paper money will always return to its intrinsic value, zero. I want to give you a quick comparison of savings, what this could mean to our savings accounts, our retirement savings, our children's education funds, or anything else that might be important to us. I just take a little track over the course of 20 years. I say if you would have saved $65 a week, or let's call it $300 a month over the course of 20 years, from 1995 to present day, all right, I'm going to keep this really simple, so I'm not going to start adding in compounded interest because at the end of the day, there is no interest anymore, right? I mean, you put your money in a bank, you get 1% on it, so it's insignificant anyway. But had you put aside $300 a month for 20 years, you would have put aside $72,000 in cash. However, if you would have put aside $300 a month in cash and stored it in gold, you also would have put aside $72,000 of cash, which is now sitting in gold. But if we look at what's happened to the purchasing power over the course of those 20 years, that $72,000 worth of cash has eroded to just $56,000. In other words, it has lost $16,000 of its purchasing power. However, had you put that $300 a month into gold, yes, you would have had $72,000 worth of cash put aside. But today, that gold would have a purchasing power of $236,000. In other words, a net increase in purchasing power of $164,000. My question to you is, if you understand that gold is a store of value, that gold will hold its value, and that our paper currency is declining, what could this mean toward your savings strategies? And now I just want to ask you a question. Well, how would you rather save? You want to use that paper currency that Voltaire was talking about? Or do you want to put it into a safe, stable store of value that will actually preserve your purchasing power, and protect you hedging against the inflation of the future? That's a question I'm just going to leave with you to sort out for yourself. But I think I know what the answer probably is. Ray Dalio, one of the richest men in the United States. He is pretty much known as a brilliant philosopher, an incredible economist. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's chairman and CEO of the Bridgewater Group, the largest and most successful hedge fund in the United States today. He's a multi-billionaire. And this is a direct quote from Ray Dalio. If you don't own gold, you simply don't know history. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to show you a little bit of history. I'm trying to show you what's happening in our own world right here, right in front of us. And I'm going to suggest to you that you probably want to get your hands on some gold. So let me ask you a question. You live in a home, you have an apartment, do you have home insurance? Do you have some form of medical insurance, whether the government-operated insurance or maybe something supplemental to that? And if you drive a vehicle, do you have car insurance? Probably the answer is yes. But let me ask you this. Do you have any money insurance? Money insurance, you say, well, what's that? Well, we're starting to get a little clue. Let me show this to you. Pretty much every expert we read, so we can look at Kiyosaki, Mike Maloney, Jim Sinclair. The list goes on and on and on. All the experts basically recommend that if you want to protect yourself against inflation, Ray Dalio, hold gold and hedge yourself against inflation. I'm going to say it again. They'll all tell us, hold gold and hedge yourself against inflation. But here's a problem. Gold is expensive. Most people, as we've already illustrated, are so stretched living paycheck to paycheck or trying to, maintain their lifestyle that they just don't have $1,200 to $1,300 in their pocket that they can go and get themselves an ounce of gold at a time to go and create any real meaningful long-term savings. And even if we could, there's another problem with it. Many of us just don't know how to get it. It's inaccessible. Where do I find it? Where do I get it? And even if I know where to get it, what do I do when I finally have it? Where do I keep it? Where do I store it? How do I keep it safe and secure? And even if you had the answer to those first two questions, it's difficult to use. You can't just go down to the bakery or the gas station or the grocery store and go looking for your next loaf of bread or your next tank of gas and give them an ounce of gold worth $1,200 and expect to get change in return. They're just going to look at you very strangely. They'd probably like to have the gold, but it's not transactable. It's not transaction friendly. If you wanted to use it, you'd need to take it down to your bullion dealer, get the cash for it, and then use that cash in the supermarket or the gas station to get your gas. So there's a problem. Gold is clearly the answer, but we need to get it into a more usable format. So gold is the answer. There's the problem. Here is a solution. I want to introduce you to what this is all about. The company's called Karatbars, and the product is a Karatbar. Karatbars International specializes in making 99.9% pure currency-grade gold, LBMA certified gold, in smaller, more transaction-friendly units so that people of the world can afford it and get their hands on it. And then they'll provide you a mechanism by which that you can buy real gold bullion using an e-commerce platform and change it back into cash at the time you need it, having hedged yourself against inflation. It's a beautiful, beautiful e-commerce platform dealing in real gold bullion that is yours. And one of the games of the wealthy, they have a system called vaulted gold. And it's been reserved for the, and by the way, here's a statistic for you. Only 1% of the world's population actually hold gold. We've all heard of the 1%. Who are the 1%? Who are the 1% that own gold? The wealthy. Karatbars, what they've done is they've created a system that makes gold available to the other 99. And what the wealthy have done is they have a system called vaulted gold where they hold their assets offshore legally and legitimately and hold them there. Karatbars, with their e-commerce platform, will allow you to acquire pure currency-grade gold in small transactable amounts, and they'll either hold it for you in a vaulted format or ship it to you at will as you request it. It's brilliant. And really, here's what we're doing. This whole program is all about exchanging some of these declining paper units, declining paper currency, and exchanging it into Karatbars in 1 gram, 2.5 gram, and 5 gram increments so that it's affordable, so that you can create real and meaningful savings, hedging yourself against inflation, watching the value of your gold increase relative to those dollars, just holding them there in a superior savings vehicle, and at the time that you need the cash, exchanging them back into the currency that you need at the time that you need it, and because the currency's declined, you've actually got more of it. Does this make sense? It certainly makes sense to me. Now, I've been buying a lot of gold for a lot of years, and I do believe that gold is a strong, legitimate, safe, and important store of value. And I have some, 1 ounce bars, and I've got some maple leafs, and I've got some 10 ounce bars, and I've got some kilo-sized bars. But the thing is, they're large storage units, and if I need cash, and I can't just give them half of one of the gold bars. I got to give them the whole gold bar, and then they give me back the cash. But if we enter a period of hyperinflation, the cash that they give me begins to erode, so I don't actually want the cash in my pocket. Here's what's going on with Karatbars. Just look at this. I'm just going to skip this one here. If you had a gram of gold in 1971, that 1 gram of gold would have bought you 5 loaves of bread. Very interesting. 32 grams make 1 ounce. If you had a $1 in 1971, that $1 would have got you about 4 loaves of bread. Makes sense. 35 grams, okay? 32 grams makes an ounce. The dollar was pegged to 1/35 of an ounce. So you can see it's a pretty similar store of value back in 1971, just before the gold standard got pulled under Nixon. Let's look at what it looks like today. Today, if you had 1 gram of gold, it would buy you 20 loaves of bread. $1, however, would only get you about a couple slices. What I'm trying to demonstrate to you here is that it's gold, not paper, that's the true store of wealth, that it's gold that actually holds its value. And why these Karatbars, why these small transaction-friendly, affordable weights, spendable gold is so important. Because even if you decide to get your hands on some gold and you've only got 1 ounce increments or 10 ounce increments, at the time that you exchange your gold back into currency, when we enter a period of hyperinflation, and ladies and gentlemen, we've lost 98% of our purchasing power, I would suggest to you that we are in a period of inflation, and it's being hidden in lots of ways, but the plug is about to come out on this thing, and we will experience hyperinflation in our lifetimes. And if all you've got is large denominations of gold, the minute you turn it into cash so you can use it in the commerce system, the cash in your pocket, the change begins to erode. So if I take a 1 ounce coin today and turn it into cash, they give me the $1,200 for it. Tomorrow, maybe it's worth $800. By the end of the week, it's probably worth about $400. I'm losing my purchasing power. The beautiful thing with a little Karatbar at 1 gram, 2.5 grams, and 5 grams, that Karatbar represents to me a basket of groceries 3 years ago, a basket of groceries today, and it'll be a basket of groceries 3 years from now. I basically have small, spendable, transaction-friendly weights, LBMA certified and recognized so that any bullion guy will take it, and Karatbars, in addition to that, is building an entire merchant network called the K Exchange that they'll actually accept your gold in exchange for purchasing and give you change in gold credits. Absolutely brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, I would suggest to you that this is one of the most powerful ways to protect yourself against inflation, to hedge yourself against it, and to have spendable currency in your pocket when hyperinflation actually comes. And it's coming. So let me ask you the question again. Are you ready for some money insurance? Because it's gold, not cash, that is our protective shield against inflation. So let me ask you a question. Here is the opportunity part. What if we could show you how to acquire 24 karat, 99.9% pure currency-grade gold bullion through a system instead of paying for it out of your own pocket? And what if we could show you how to leverage that system into a significant weekly passive income and do that in as little as 12 weeks so that not only are you increasing your cash flow, but you're creating meaningful savings at the same time? Cash and gold that you didn't have before in your pocket. That's a powerful 1-2 punch. Not only will we give you the income from which to create meaningful savings, we'll give you the savings through which to start creating gold. And if you do this, the system will start producing gold for you, plus the cash that you can put into your savings account and augment your lifestyle with. It's unbelievable. It's quite amazing. Here at Karatbars, we're actually not selling anything. This is a self-directed savings program. Basically, what we're outlining to you here today, what I'm outlining for you, is the Karatbars system. They're an e-commerce platform registered with the World Trade Organization that allows people of the world to acquire 99% pure currency-grade gold using their e-commerce platform. And we as affiliates propose a 12-week, 3-step plan that will allow you to change some of your spending habits into savings habits. This, at the end of the day, is just a self-directed savings program. And using this program, give the ability to save money, accumulate wealth, and protect your financial future by hedging it with gold. Let me show you how the system operates. Step 1. Really, the step 1 is just as simple as setting up a free account. Yeah, that's true. Karatbars International will allow you to set up a free account. It takes about 90 seconds to do it. And once you've got that free account, you are now authorized or enabled to just simply transfer some of these declining paper notes into your own gold savings account. And as you do that, they'll either ship the bullion to you or store it in a vault in trust, all serial numbered, registered to you. Pick up a free account. And if you decide that you'd like to turn this into a leveraged income opportunity, you can join the affiliate marketing plan and pick up one of our business packages, which we will explain to you in the compensation section of this presentation. Step 2. Simply move 1 gram of gold every week for a minimum of 12 weeks. Move your currency. Move this declining currency and acquire 1 gram of gold a week, 1 gram of gold a week, 1 gram of gold a week. I was explaining this to a gentleman that I met for the first time 2 weeks ago at a barbecue, and I was explaining it to him, and he just looked at me and he said, okay, this makes sense to me, because when I think about gold and I think about $1,200 an ounce, frankly, I'm intimidated by it. But when you show me a 1 gram unit of Karatbars and it's only $60, I can get my head wrapped around that, and I'm very comfortable with it. And that's what this is all about, making gold available to the 99% who are unfamiliar with it, intimidated by it, or otherwise couldn't afford it. A platform that makes gold accessible, easy to use, and affordable for you. So all we're going to do is we're going to move 1 gram a week, move currency into 1 gram a week, and do that for a minimum of 12 weeks. Now, as for me, I don't do this for 12 weeks. This, for me, is a life plan. You know, Smokin' Joe Frazier put it like this. He says, you can map out a fight plan, or you can map out a life plan. But when the action starts, you're down to your reflexes. That's where your road work shows. If you cheated on that in the dark of the morning, you're going to get found out now under the bright lights, because champions don't become champions in the ring. Now, he was talking about boxing, but it's a great metaphor. This, for me, is a life plan. And when the lights come on and hyperinflation hits, I want as much of these spendable gold units as I can. I am committing to this. And the beautiful thing is, Karatbars has given me the income stream to actually acquire more gold as they kick out gold to me. It's astronomical. It's mind-boggling what Karatbars has done here. That's step 2. Step number 3, if you want to turn this into an income opportunity, and if you want to get free gold out of a system and cash flow to do it with, all we simply do is you enter our affiliate marketing program and our free referral program. Yes, a free referral program. When you set up your account, Karatbars will enroll you in what they call their unilevel system. I call it the personal referral box. And simply by referring a couple of people to Karatbars, they will now start to pay you residual incomes on any acquisitions that people have made as a result of you simply saying, take a look at this. So step number 3, find 2 who do the same, and then we help those 2 find 2 who do the same. And if you'll do that for 12 weeks, what will start to happen is your affiliate marketing program, your referral box will begin to grow, the system will start to generate cash flow, and all of a sudden your gold is costing you nothing. And that's what this is all about. So everything you read says that there are 7 ways to get paid at Karatbars, and it's absolutely true. There are 7 ways to get paid, but the truth of the matter is it's the last 4 which are a result of the first 3. So tune in to the next piece of video where I go through the compensation plan and show you how to get paid here at Karatbars.